finishes it.
For sure, for sure. Let's go ahead and get into the men's side of things. The NBA, there was a big trade over the weekend. Karl Anthony Towns was acquired by the New York Knicks in a deal that sent Julius Randle over to Minnesota along with Dante DiVincenzo. Join in with us, host of the For the Community podcast, one of our resident Knicks fans, Stat. What's going on, Stat?
What's going on, fellas? Thank you for having me. Shout out to the Knicks, man. Shout out to the Knicks.
He's one of the few that I seen was hyped about it because there was a couple people that wasn't happy about the trade.
And that's okay, man. You know what it is? In life, it's all about perspective. It's all about perspective, man. And I can't be mad at people for thinking that we made a bad trade. But it's quite the opposite. We made a great trade.
Are you willing to say the Knicks are back?
We were back before that. Don't play that. Don't play that. We was back before that. Chip, what you talking about?
My thing with you, I understand what people are saying when you talk about closing lineups or you talk about mentality kind of things with Cat, because I've had my gripes with that type of stuff when it comes to Cat throughout his career. But I've also had gripes about Julius Randle. And I feel like for the majority of Julius Randle's tenure with the New York Knicks, Knicks fans have complained about the usage rate with him. Now, you send over Julius Randle to Minnesota, you get Cat, who's a Tibbs guy, played for Tibbs, shoots better from the field. Not 3-point percentage, the field. He's a guy that can score without the ball in his hands. This is defense is defense, and we can get into what the defense looks like. This is a scary offense to me, Stat.
Listen, so here's the thing, right? Julius Randle, he had to grow on me, right? He came at a time when no one was really coming to the Knicks. Everyone wants to give him his flowers for that. Like, oh, no one was coming to the Knicks. Whatever. Cool. Thank you, Julius Randle. We appreciate you. But that's been my biggest problem with him is that he wasn't efficient from the field. And he's 6'8", country strong. It's like, you can easily score whenever you want to, 10 feet within, sir. You can get fouled. You can get the layup. Best opportunities inside the rim. But Julius wanted to be the Julius from 2020 when his best teammates was R.J. Barrett and Elfrid Payton. Like, that's the Julius that got his confidence up to make All-NBA teams. And I can't be mad at him for that. But for people to think that this wasn't a clear win by the Knicks is kind of insane to me. Cat is the best shooting center in the NBA. And it's actually not even close. Like, if you look at the numbers, 50, 40, 20-plus, multiple seasons. No one else has done that in history. No one. Not a single big. I'm sorry, not a single big has ever done that. And here's my thing, too. When the Celtics did it last year, everyone praised them. Oh, they got KP. They got Drew. Wonderful moves. The Celtics this, the Celtics that. But then when the Knicks get someone who's better than KP, they already got the superstar point guard. They got the two-way wings on the roster. Now it's, oh, but what about their bench? Who they got coming off the bench? Who's going to be doing this? They gave up too much. Now look what happened. The Knicks do it, and it's a problem. I just want to know, fellas, is it a problem? Because I'm biased. I'm a Knicks fan. I think it's a great move. But, again, it's like the song goes, It's cool when they do it. It's a problem when I do it. That's the life of a Knicks fan, man. We can't make any move that isn't widely agreed upon without people coming back on us. Like, oh, I don't understand what they did wrong. Like, why would they trade their depth? We traded one extra player. So you telling me one player made up the depth for the Knicks? We was in trouble then. That's what I'm hearing. We heard Dante's gone, Julius is gone, depth questions for the Knicks. It's like, well, he was a 6'4" shooting guard. Deuce is here. Kolick had a great summer. I'm confused. Where's this depth? You feel like, come on, guys, and it's okay, right? I got a list of people who are upset about this, and come November, they'll be happy. So I'm cool with that.
I have one thing.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, a lot of people that's upset are Knicks fans. It's like your own people attacking you at this point.
It's friendly fire. It's definitely friendly fire, and it's friendly fire because of Two things. One, Julius is actually growing on people. It took a little bit, but people like his toughness and all that good stuff. And two, it's the what has Cat shown recently that's given people the whole like, why would we do this? This doesn't make any sense. Mitchell Robinson's out to probably January. January. So that means Jericho Sims or Precious Achua was going to be our biggest threat at the center position, which means 4-on-5 basketball. That's what that means on offense. It's 4-on-5. So with that being said, we gave up, I guess, some defense in Randall. I don't think so, because Cat averages more blocks and steals over his course of his career than Julius. So I can't even confidently say that. And when I start bringing up these points, the same Knicks fans are like, oh, but he's not really a center. He's a power forward. Then I got to go to Google, type in stats.com, show that Cat has played center his entire career until Rudy Gobert got there. So, like, we love moving the goalposts. Certain Knicks fans, they just like to go from one problem to another problem. You know how New Yorkers are. We're all New Yorkers, right? If the traffic ain't giving us a headache, it's the people cutting us off in the line in the grocery store. If it ain't that, it's the weather outside is terrible. Like, we be complaining, and that's okay. That's what we do. That's what we know to do as New York. We complain about something.
You think some of it's some PTSD? Some Knicks fans just got
Well,
PTSD
I
from
don't like to
old
tell people to
trades.
visit the lady in the chair, but if I was able to feel complied to say that, I would say that. Yeah, they do, because listen, I get it. Been a Knicks fan, like, I would say consciously since about 2001. So I started really when we was really in the trenches. So I can understand, the Stephon Marbury's, the Steve Francis trades, the Jack, what's his name? Oh, no, Michael Doliak. We've had some crazy names play for our team through the years. Kurt Thomas, Othella Harrington. We've had some scrubs. Don't get me wrong, but it's not that time of the year no more. It's not. This is the Knicks time of the century. Like, we actually have a team that is getting headlines for making a trade for an All NBA player. You guys realize that the Knicks are being questioned for trading for an All NBA player.
And this is the first time I'm gonna say um that is, so we have a mutual friend. That's how we know each other, Rashad.
Absolutely.
Rashad has brought up something for years and it's been against me, but now I'm gonna use it against him and other
As
people.
you should.
Rent free, Knicks living rent free in other people's heads. Right? It's almost like the Dallas Cowboys kind of thing. Like,
Chill. Come on.
no, no,
Come on, brother.
no, 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 no,
Come on
no.
now. Come on
I
now.
don't, no, no, no. Because
All right, cool.
the like Knicks, you know what I'm saying? But like, Dallas Cowboys traded for Amari Cooper a bunch of years ago. At the time, good deal. A lot of people went against it though, right? But good deal. Knicks trade for a multi-time All-Star, one of the best bigs in the league. Like I said earlier, can shoot the three, can score without the ball in his hands. And we're talking about, what did we do? But like, I would have loved to see the Nova Knicks, right? I think we all would have loved to see the Nova Knicks. But Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson is a pretty good. It's a pretty good consolation prize, right,
That's
fellas?
good.
Like,
That's good. That's good basketball. And it's not that you're not getting to see the Villanova. See, this is the thing too. And I'm glad that you guys have me on, because this is the first podcast I've been on since the Knicks have gotten Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges in one setting. I have a tweet from 2018 that told the Knicks to draft Jalen Brunson.
this is true.
Verbatim, draft Jalen Brunson. We already missed out on Josh Hart. Get back into the first round, use the 9th pick for Mikal Bridges, and trade our second round picks to get Jalen Brunson with the last pick of the first round. I said all this. So thank you, fellas, for finally giving me the platform to express that, because I feel very good about manifesting this team. That being said, the Villanova team, Dante was coming off the bench, right? And he would close out games. That's cool. That's cool and all. But let's be very clear. OG Anunoby or Dante DiVincenzo, which one would you rather have on the floor in the fourth quarter?
OG.
Okay. So that's what we have now. We have Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Cat, and Josh Hart. That's it. That's the I don't see how that's not a lineup that keeps defenses up at night, because Josh Hart proved in the playoffs you can't always leave him open. Sure, you can. That could be the last person you rotate to. But OG dunked on Joel Embiid, so clearly he has the manpower and the confidence to go in amongst the trees and dunk. Mikal Bridges was an NBA Finals wing player not too long ago. And I don't need to mention Mr. Jalen Brunson, you know? And I think about Cat, I think his confidence was affected when Anthony Edwards became all you're hearing is he's the next Michael Jordan. He's in movies, he's in Netflix series, and he's everywhere. And that could be, that I'm not saying he was jealous of him, but that could be a transition for a player like Cat where you go from being the man for 7 years in Minnesota to now the last year, especially, people will question like, no, Cat isn't the leader of the team. He's not the face of the organization. It's Anthony Edwards. Like it's him. It's not Cat no more. And that might have affected him. But now he gets to go to a team where I think that could be a boost in confidence because clearly we wanted you because we traded for you. It wasn't like Julia said, hey, I want out of New York, and that's why we ended up getting Cat. It was like, no, we want you, Cat. We've had your agent here running the show for the last 3-4 seasons, and low key, he's been trying to get you. He's been trying to trade for you at least for a year now. So again, I think is in terms of what you asked about PTSD, I think the Knicks fans that are outside of me and a couple of others just need to slow our brains down. It's not the same old Knicks. We don't have Jerry Jones as an owner still interfering, still doing interviews, all in the music videos. We don't have that no more. We good, baby. We gonna be all right. We gonna be better than all right. We going to the finals. I'm calling.
I
You
got
said
two
that last
things.
year though. He did
No,
say that
no, no,
last
no,
year
no, no,
though.
no, no. See what happened was that was very situational. We had a really good game. Jalen Brunson dropped 40 something on somebody. I was feeling good. We going to the finals this year for sure.
I
For
have
sure.
two things. I think Randall, as much as Knicks fans love Randall, I think
Mm,
it was going to be a tough situation kind of putting him back into that rotation. I think
yeah,
when you go out as the number one option and you
mm,
come back as the number two option, it kind of would have been tough. I think Cat fits it a little better because he doesn't
yeah,
necessarily need the ball in his hand. Kind of like what you were saying earlier about Randall wanting to shoot a whole bunch of threes and have the ball in his hand. Cat's
mm,
gonna play that pick and pop. He's gonna get a lot of buckets like that kind of. So there's not gonna be as much plays need to be run for Cat. Cat could he
right,
could sit in the corner and hit that three. He can obviously play the pick and roll game, a couple post ups here and there. So he kind of fits kind of what you guys are trying to do, I think, moving forward more. I think Randall just would have had the ball too much where you're like taking it out of Brunson's hand and then
mm,
giving it to Randall. And then again, Mitch is hurt. So you guys had no center really. Now that you're running Randall at the center, it's kind of like you needed a center. And then obviously you get Mitch back. Now you got two centers. So you needed a center anyway.
yeah. No, exactly. And I think with that, people don't realize the biggest problem I have with Julius was his basketball IQ. And when you play outside of your position, that's what you have to tap into the most as a former basketball player. You can't go from playing shot creating power forward, which he was in 2020, to now playing, pick and pop center, not powerful center. Like you are the biggest person on the court. Yeah, OG can take some switch offs and you guys can pass off the defenders. Depending on what the matchup is, you guys can always switch off. But for the most part, Julius Randle at 6'8", 245, you are our center. And I don't think that was ever going to work outside of maybe like closing out a game if our offense is struggling, maybe. But again, you have to have the discipline as an IQ to realize that, you know what? I have to now fit differently into this team. He still could have averaged 18, 10, and 5 or 6 this season easily in his sleep even. But my biggest problem is that Julius never adapted to that part of the game. Like even when Brunson was having his coming out party the previous season, not last season, but the one before that, you saw Julius was still having his moments of like jab step, pump, jab step, and now everyone's just kind of spaced out in the corner. And I love Jalen Brunson, but he's not a spot up shooter. He can hit them, obviously. He's a good shooter, but that's not his game. His game isn't catching it off a Julius kick and splashing it. That's not him. Like so, you can't have too many players like that on the team, which is why we traded RJ, and eventually why we just traded Randall too.
See, this is what I was trying to tell Rashad the night of the trade.
He's not
But
reasonable. He's emotional right
thank
now.
you,
He's
thank
emotional
you,
right now.
thank
He's
you.
emotional. He's very
He doesn't like
emotional.
the
It's okay,
trade.
Shaw. We love you, man. No,
We do love Rashad. No, he hates it. I have a text message in a group chat that says he hates he's not happy about it. He was not happy about it. And
yeah,
I know that you're in that Knicks group chat with him, so I'm sure that you and maybe some other people was going back and forth with him when
it,
he because I know for a fact, without actually knowing that he went and said the same thing in there.
he wasn't as vulnerable with us, right? He might have felt more comfortable in your group chat. He just kind of said like, I'm not really feeling the trade, guys. He wasn't as adamant as he might have been in yours. But I mean, like I said, we've had a couple of people. I think we were kind of evenly split in the chat. Everyone just kept bringing up the fact that we had to give up Dante, and like, well, the second apron, the new CBA, a lot of these things are going to happen where we had to sign and trade 3 guys that were not going to make the team in order to complete the trade in the first place. So teams are making adjustments, and the fans, y'all going to make adjustments too, man. Like we had to give to get. I think Dante and Julius, especially with Dante going from starting shooting guard to backup. Yeah, sure. Reports are now coming out that he was thrilled to for the opportunity to play with Mikal again, but I saw it in Dante's face. The more they kept talking about Nova Knicks, Nova this, Nova that, it wasn't really Dante. Don't care. Like Dante just want to hoop, and that's okay. Like he doesn't need to be we're the best friends from college. Yeah, you don't really need that, and that's Dante. Dante's cool and regardless. He about to go in Minnesota and ball. So is Julius, but again, I can't see why too many Knicks fans are mad about this trade. It just doesn't make any sense. We have again the best shooting big man in the league, and he's not injury prone like KP. And look, you saw what KP did in 50 games for Boston last year, including the playoffs. That's all we need him for, 55, 60 games. We don't need him to be anything more than that. Like we made to the second round, 1 game away from the conference finals without half of our team. So we get Cat, Bridges, Kolek. Kolek is going to be the name to watch. I'm going to keep saying his name and keep bringing it up, just like I brought up Jalen Brunson in 2018. Tyler Kolek's that dude. That TJ McConnell 2.0.
Just saw that. Y'all just signed he was on the Pacers.
Oh, TJ Warren.
Signed TJ Warren today.
Yeah. Shout out to my 8th grade classmate, man. Shout out to TJ.
Shout out to you making that up? You serious?
No, I'm serious. He went to Neal Middle School.
Man. I wish my drops were working right now. I would have dropped a bomb on that.
Nah. And I was just talking in a group chat about that because Eli, he was like, yo, stat. I'm like, what? And he had sent the picture of TJ signing the contract. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Like we was in 8th grade choir together, and this is in the middle of North Carolina somewhere. And it was just like 5 of us in there. You know how they give us electives just to fill out the schedule. And I walk in, I'm like, Dad, this is somebody taller than me. And he's like, yo, how long you been here? I'm like, I just got here. He's like, I just got here too. And he used to get pulled out of class just to dunk because he's in 8th grade and people didn't really see that. So he used to get pulled out of class for all types of crazy stuff. Dunking, playing pickup games against coaches. But yeah, TJ Warren to the Knicks, man. I've been calling for that too. Shout out to us, man. We're making good moves.
Questions from the chat. Who is now the second option on the New York Knicks? Kay is in the chat right now saying that it's Cat. Is that B Hodge? Got somebody in here saying that Mikal is the second option on his team.
Incorrect.
According to you, Stat, who is the second option on his
Anyone
team?
who's saying anything other than Karl Anthony Towns of New Jersey is absolutely incorrect. It's Karl. Karl. Karl is the second option. It's clear. We don't need to have this debate all through training camp. Let's not take this to Twitter. Let's not take this to Instagram. It's Karl Anthony Towns. Now, third option, that's a better question. Third option, whoever's hot that game, whether it be OG, whether it be Mikal, whoever's got the mismatch, because the only team in the league who can match up with us in terms of like height and strength and athleticism is the Celtics. Maybe the Lakers a little bit because of Jarrett Vanderbilt, but he's still hurt. So, third option would be the better question, but Cat's definitely second.
I think Mikal's the third option. Maybe I haven't watched a lot of OG, but I think Mikal, from what we at least seen in Brooklyn, he could get his own shot. So that's someone I think would be.
Mikal's about to go crazy. I really feel like Mikal's the last time Mikal was on a team this good was before he got to Brooklyn.
And was able to be the key piece of that trade to Brooklyn. Like he was the one the Nets insisted on. They're like, we don't want this trade to happen unless we get Mikal. And now he gets to play with less pressure. Think about it in a way of like going from look at Bridges' profile. He doesn't have the outstanding personality like, the Ant Edwards and the main option for teams. He gets to now sit back and take advantage of probably the third best defender on the floor, maybe fourth best at best.
Yeah.
He was just averaging 20 in Brooklyn as the number one option. So it's like, that's a dream come true. If I'm a player like Mikal, who I know my game is, obviously he's better than just a standstill knockdown shooter, but it's like, hey, people were questioning our depth. let's say this is how the game flow goes. There's 7 minutes left in the first. Nah, let's do 5 minutes. 5 minutes left in the first. Get Brunson out of there. Get OG out of there, and maybe Josh Hart. Let Bridges, Kolick, Cat, Precious, and Deuce McBride. That's still a lineup that can close out a quarter easily, easily. Because then you
I'm
got
not.
Cat being number one, and then you got Bridges, who was just the number one, as now the number two option in that lineup. And you got the defense of McBride, you got Precious, and then you got the playmaking of Tyler Kolick. Again, I'm not going to stop saying his name, Tyler Kolick.
This team to me is going to solidify Tom Thibodeau's legacy as a coach. I think that this team is probably the most talented team. Not probably. This is the most talented team he's ever coached in his career. Better than the Minnesota Timberwolves that he had. Better than the Chicago Bulls with Derrick Rose. I really do feel that
I
way.
think it's closer, though. I think it's close only because Luol Deng was better than what he got credit for. Carlos Boozer was a perennial all-star before Tibbs ruined him. And you still had Derrick Rose, who's, Hall of Fame bound. But yeah, no, I wouldn't argue with that. People call me crazy because I'm a Knicks fan and saying that, but I like that take. That's a good take.
That Bulls
I
team
don't
was
like the
pretty good,
fact that it's
man. They
Tibbs
were a
though.
one seed. They were
Yeah, they were a
on
one
pay. I think on
seed.
paper, right
Yeah,
now, this Knicks team is
yeah.
probably definitely more talented down the line. I think that Bulls team's probably top heavy with D Rose.
That's true. And
Um,
we could shoot better. We shoot way better. Just
that's the
naturally
league
because where
now.
the league is. Yeah, yeah, just
Yeah,
because of the league.
everyone
But
shoots
Jakeem
better.
Noah and Carlos Boozer taking threes, I can't see that.
Yo, 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 yo. All right, nah, I'm glad I needed to have another basketball mind on here for this since you want to bring up Noah.
Uh,
We've had a thing on this
Jesus
show
Christ.
for like 2 years where Kay just doesn't want to give Kim Noah the credit he deserves. We're not
why
talking about
not?
Knicks Noah. We're not talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
Knicks
yeah. No, no,
Noah.
no. Yeah, no, no.
Chicago Bulls Kim Noah was a problem.
Yeah,
Listen. I give
absolutely.
Noah his credit, but they're talking about Noah like an MVP candidate. He was never that.
He was. I'm not making that up. I'm literally
uh,
go back and look it
one
up.
one of
I'm
those
not
years he
making
was
that
though.
up.
One of those years he
I
was. He
mean,
was
he
the
finished top five in voting. I think he was number five, but like he was never like a real
he was never gonna
solid
win it.
MVP. He
Yeah,
wasn't the MVP.
he
He
was never
wasn't
Yeah.
the MVP. They be talking to me like he was the MVP. That's
gonna
I'm
I
not
don't know.
giving
They're
him
not
that.
not MVP. But I mean, like, I'm not sitting here telling you he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but he was a problem. Like, it's not like Derrick Rose has some hitters on that team when he was rolling before he got hurt.
win.
Yeah, the team was talented. I give Noah his credit, but y'all talking to me about top five MVP, all that type of stuff. I'm not going that far.
I mean, he's not far. I think if let's say we're talking like Hall of Fame, for example, right? People are going to unfortunately try to put Draymond Green in the Hall of Fame. Granted, I
It's
don't think.
happening. I
Yeah,
agree with you, but it's
Yeah.
happening.
yeah, it's happening, right? And outside of shooting, Jakeem Noah is the better player of the two because he
Honestly,
could pass. Like his passing was completely underrated when he came to the Knicks, and he was backdoor cuts, and because he's not going to shoot, so he's literally just reading the floor and he's making the right pass every single time. He averaged like 3.5, 4 assists for someone who didn't bring the ball up and they weren't running plays through him. He had a lot of assists, and we already know what he gave on the defensive end. And I think just his tenacity too, like that's not to be understated. Dennis Rodman made it to the Hall of Fame based off tenacity. But to say Jakeem Noah, I mean, yes, he had that MVP voting situation that happened, but who would you rather have, Cat or Jakeem Noah? That's Jakeem. Like you're not going to take Jakeem Noah. You're going to take Cat 9 times out of 10. Tibbs is going to take Jakeem Noah 10 times out of 10, but that's Tibbs. And to go back to your point about this being, something that makes or breaks Tibbs' legacy, it's well
I'll not
documented.
break. I don't think it'll break. I think
Okay,
he's a great coach regardless. But I think like this will kind of like solidify him because let me
okay.
put this out here that I think this Knicks team is capable of finishing off as a one seed.
Oh yeah, I think we will.
uh,
I think it'll come down to the end, but I think we will.
I and even that's they kind of got to win it. Fitting as the one seed is not as impressive because you were the two seed last year. You figure
That's true.
Boston's probably going
That's
to
true.
coast through this season, so they're probably not going to go for the one seed. So you could finish off as the one seed and be like, I think
Yeah.
they kind of gotta, like I said, it's good on paper. We gotta see it. I guess hindsight being 2020, we seen what the Bulls were.
Mm.
So I think, like off the top of my head, like I said on paper, the Knicks are obviously the more talented, better team, but they could flare. they could like turn out terribly. And
I don't see
then
it
we're
though.
having
Do
this
you really see
conversation in a
it?
year. I mean, we've seen other super teams get together and
Then
things
this
not work
isn't
Don't
out.
give
that
us the
though. This
super
isn't
team
that.
title, man.
These
Come
guys have all
on,
played
man.
together.
They all haven't played together. There's three that have played together.
I feel like catch is a lot. Like Jalen Brunson this whole year, this has been the year of Jalen Brunson between on court play and off court. He has shown
Mhm.
us nothing but he's a baller. And he's one of the most unselfish guys you'll ever meet.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying things could go wrong. We've seen other. Paul George has been part of five teams we thought were going to work out now, and none of them
Maybe.
have worked out. So, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I think they'll be fine. I think they're versatile enough to play multiple different ways, even if people get hurt. If OG goes down, you still got Michael to kind of be your best defender out there, and he still can create. So I think the center position is going to be a little tough until Mitch gets back. But I think
Mm.
even if a couple people get hurt, you're still versatile enough to play different type of ways throughout the season if you need to.
Yeah, I agree. I think outside of injuries, the biggest thing that actually stands in our way is Tom Thibodeau. And that's because what ends up happening is the biggest difference between the Celtics and the Knicks right now is coaching. That's it. We match up well 5-on-5. We match up damn near the best team in the league to match up with them. Tom Thibodeau is going to make like he's going to be the reason we either win and make it to the finals or fall short. And as someone who's never supported the hiring of Tom Thibodeau, I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible here. He doesn't know how to make any adjustments. He simply doesn't know how to operate outside of the realms of defense. I have watched games so intently in watching just Tibbs' reactions on the sideline. On defense, engage, pointing out, calling out command, just very engaged. Offense, arms folded. I've seen him. We had a really bad possession at some point last season, and Tibbs' face didn't change. I watched it. I'm like, how are you not upset by what you just saw? We didn't do anything. Like we called a timeout. What play was this, Tibbs? He doesn't. That's not his game, and I can understand that. But can we get someone in here who knows when to? Hey, you know what? We're not going to run with this lineup. We're going to run with this lineup. And I think Joe, from learning with Ime, he knows how to do that. Nick Nurse knows how to do that. We already know about Eric Spoelstra. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Heat fan himself in here. Eric Spoelstra, best coach in the NBA. He knows how to win with whatever is available to him. If Eric Spoelstra, Nick Nurse, Ime Udoka, Popovich had a team like the Knicks have right now, undoubtedly we'd be the NBA final favorites. No question. No question off the strength of that alone, because now you have someone who you know is going to try something different and something isn't working. We're playing the Pacers and the 76ers, and we just kept doing the same thing. It's like, not to get too far off topic, it's like when I watch the Jets, it's like we just line up to expect to be better than the other team and that be enough instead of actually making adjustments to now outsmart the team. We don't believe in outsmarting teams with the Knicks. Tom Thibodeau is like, nah, I got these 6.5 guys. We're just going to run them 45 minutes for 6 months and hope for the best. Hope no injuries happen because these are the 6 guys I want to play. Like, you want to let me coach my team? Like, I can see Tibbs being the one like, hey, this is my team. I'm a coach them the way I want to coach them. And then now he's got people like Josh Hart who's like, yeah, I don't mind playing 42 minutes. It's basketball. Jalen Brunson, yeah, it's basketball. I'm going to have to play anyway. No, fellas, we need you guys to get some rest. We need you guys to relax. Otherwise, we get beat by the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Conference semifinals because we only have 4 good players available. So Tibbs will be the reason why the Knicks make it or don't.
And I think that's
What
why back to Rich's point about like it's kind of make or break for him. He's had good teams and he's gonna be a great coach regardless. But
Yeah,
I guess he won with the Bulls I mean the Celtics as an assistant. But
yeah,
as
that
the
don't
head
count.
coach,
yeah.
That don't
he's
count.
never won. And we're gonna look back on it in a few years and be like, well, he had the talent to win it. So
He
I think
did.
this is kind of make or break for him. And then we all kind of know him for, like you just said, playing his way. He's going to play people 40 minutes. They got to play defense, this and that. So I think when we look back on it, if he doesn't win, it's going to be like, well, he was a great coach, but maybe he was stuck in his ways. He could have tried a couple different things. He should have maybe won a couple. So I think it is kind of make or break for him right now.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at his record, I think no other coach outside of Doc Rivers has coached as many All Stars. and
I
Tom
never even
Thibodeau.
thought of that.
Like,
Jesus
look
Christ.
at it.
I've been
We
giving
give on
Doc all
Doc.
this weight. Yo,
We
is
give Doc all this burn, but Tibbs done had Wiggins, Cat, Jimmy, Derek. Like he's had some guys. Like he's had some guys. He's
hey,
had some
Is
guys.
Meech in the chat?
I don't think Meech is here.
Oh my God.
His
Is Meech a
name.
Knicks fan?
I don't think so.
I gotta talk to Meech. We gotta get Meech on the show. Now I need him to lighten up on Doc a little bit after listening to that. I didn't
Yeah,
even
man.
realize that.
Tibbs done has some talent. He's had some teams, and when people ask me about, why don't you like Tibbs? Why don't you like Tibbs? I'm like, well, I'm looking at, and here's the main reason too. The Knicks have had Cam Reddish. We've had some other young guys, but Cam Reddish is being the one that stands out the most. Our young guys don't get better under Tibbs. No one, in fact, gets better under Tom Thibodeau. Jimmy Butler got better, but that was because apparently he was a madman since college. So that was his own work. That was his own business.
Hey,
Meech
But
Meech is
outside
is
of
here.
in
that,
the chat. Meech is in the chat.
listen, Tibbs is he's not going to develop guys. Like anybody who was young since Tom Thibodeau has came to the Knicks has been shipped out just easily. Like it doesn't because they don't get better. The only person people want me to give him credit for is Deuce McBride. But Deuce McBride came from a great program in West Virginia. I'm not giving that to Tibbs. Like he's working on his game in offseason. And that's something that he has a long track record of. Wiggins, the minute Wiggins left Minnesota and Tom Thibodeau, he became an NBA champion, a key piece to the Warriors. That's not a coincidence. That's coaching. That's what that is. You send Andrew Wiggins to Eric Spoelstra, and you tell me he's not going to be a perennial all-star for the rest of his career. You'd be
Of
lying.
course.
Send
Of
him to
course.
San Antonio, same thing. Send him to Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse gave Kelly Oubre was giving us all types of problems, but Kelly Oubre has been on like 5 teams in the last 6 years. So it wasn't until he got with a coach where it was like, okay, this is how you develop a talent. Like this is how players get better because they're playing in a system. They're learning how to play the game.
My
And
bad. The chat is live right now
oh yeah, no, do your thing, do your thing.
off of what you're saying. B Hodge, I can't give you that. Brunson was who he was before he got to Tibbs. Brunson was going to ball out regardless of if
Yeah,
he was a
1,000%.
Tibbs guy or not. I'm not
He won a series in Dallas by himself while Luka was hurt.
yeah. I mean
He said
Randall.
quickly, Mitch, because he's talking more young talent. I feel like some of the older
Did they
talent,
have
I
Mitch?
see.
Did y'all have Mitch before Tibbs though?
Yeah, we had Mitch for years,
I
and
remember
and
Tibbs. I remember Mitch coming out being a pretty solid player, like his first couple years in the league too. Like the development was there.
no, everything was there. The only thing Mitch needed was some weight, and even that he put on too much weight, and that's why he's been getting injured more. But that's neither here nor there. With
So what
Mitch,
about quickly?
quickly, I mean, he was supposed to be him and Tyrese Maxey were neck and neck. So I think they were only 2 picks apart too. So there wasn't much that separated the two. So you tell me what's the difference between Tyrese Maxey and Emmanuel Quickly? Their game is exactly the same. Exactly the same. They got the quick shifty moves. They're fast. They got the jumper off the dribble. They got the same exact game. So why is it that Tyrese Maxey is able to lead a team like he did while Joel Embiid was out, and Emmanuel Quickly he couldn't even bite the starting lineup because he played defense. Tibbs loved him. He just couldn't. It was just something about that shot selection, right?
Was
There's
he
something about
behind?
that.
Was he behind Brunson that whole time?
No, because he's not a point guard. He's a shooting guard. You can put these guys who are like 6'3", who can shoot and pass off the dribble. Sure, I can pass off the dribble. Doesn't make me a point guard. Like he's not a point guard. Jalen
I th
Brunson is more of a point guard, but in terms of Emmanuel Quickly, he came in the game as Brunson's backup. But they did much better when he was playing shooting guard though.
I think in that case, just to compare those two, I think Maxey's in Philly where the ball's kind of put in his hand. He can kind of just go wild. I mean, he has Embiid, but Embiid's not a guard that's really taking away from him. I think quickly, if you come in playing with Brunson, it kind of takes away from your game a little bit. Like
A little bit,
he's
okay.
not having the ball in his hand as much. He kind of gotta. I mean, like you say, he can probably play the two, but if I'm in Philly and I got the ball in my hand all day, I'm kind of going. I can kind of maybe make a little more mistakes. If Brunson's here, it's kind of like, hey, I might have a quicker leash with you.
That's true. I mean, but look what he did in Toronto. He didn't do much different. It's not, but Toronto, they didn't play much better with him. Like when you have a player like that, either the team goes as you go, or it's just like you're gonna get your numbers regardless. And that's what Quickly was doing with us, and that's what he's doing in Toronto. But I mean, if you want to give Tibbs Quickly, I suppose. But all he ever needed was minutes. He plays the same way he played in college. That's it. It's not
You wouldn't
different.
give Jimmy. You wouldn't give Jimmy to
Absolutely
Tibbs.
not.
No.
Jimmy was a madman. He was literally a mad scientist. They've been saying
Oh,
this
but
for
he was with Tibbs in
His first two
Chicago.
stops. Well, he was with Tibbs in Chicago. He came in the league with Tibbs.
mhm.
Then
I think
I
that
can't even
team.
hold you. I
I
don't
think it's
remember
that
who his
team.
coach
That
was.
team was just even when you hear Jimmy talk about that team was just kind of like they were kind of just tough. He came into like a
Yeah,
tough team, and I think
yeah,
that kind of shaped him moving forward. But I mean, you could say some of that is Tibbs too.
And I want to get
yeah,
back to before we continue with this
yeah.
because Meach has just touched on it. Tibbs, not Doc. I don't know if you was here when Stat was going off, but Tibbs Tibbs' career is very similar to Doc. Meach, do we cut back on the Doc slander, or do we bring Tibbs up with slander comparable to Doc? I need to know these things.
Well, you didn't give him the fact that Tibbs has coached as many All Stars as Doc Rivers. I think that's what sparked this.
That is what sparked it. I didn't know that. And that's I feel like if we're gonna be fair,
Now he's not as now. Granted, let me add some context to that. Now Doc has coached more Hall of Famers, right? But in terms of All Star appearances, it's maybe three more than Tibbs, maybe three or four. I will give him the further context of that stat, but it's not enough to be like, well, if we're going to give Doc slander, we should be giving Tibbs slander too because he's had the material, like he's had the things to win. He's had the
I
things to win.
that
I
Minnesota team with all his former players and Cat and Wiggins was pretty loaded. I can't lie.
Derrick Rose off the bench, he dropped 50 that year. Like
Did.
clearly he can still ball. He can play basketball. He's scoring 50 off the bench. So listen,
I
I'm not
think it
saying
looks.
to
Oh, sorry.
now you good. Now go ahead.
Now, I think it looks better for Tibbs because he wasn't out there blowing 3-1 leads. Doc's look
It's
so
also
bad
true.
because
It's also true. It's
he's
also
Yeah,
blowing
true.
that's
them
very true.
3-1 leads.
Yeah, you're right.
Like that
You're right.
that's
You're
killing
right.
Doc. He's in every
Doc, yeah,
spot
where
he's
is Doc?
been.
He's still with ESPN? He get a
No,
new
he's
job
on
yet?
No,
the
he's still
head coach of the
Milwaukee.
Bucks.
He's
Oh,
still
that's right. I
okay.
thought
So
they
let's
fired
go
him.
there because
Oh man.
you talked about coaching. Um, we know Boston's there. They're the defending champs. Philly just
Right.
loaded up with Paul George.
Mhm.
We got year two of Dame in Milwaukee. Doc Rivers is the head coach over there. Nick Nurse, who you just showed a lot of love to, is the head coach of Philadelphia.
Mhm.
Outside of Boston, is there any team, and if there is, who scares you in a playoff matchup?
76ers.
Okay, let's talk
76ers
about
hands
it.
down. Hands down the
Why? Why is it the
76ers.
Sixers? I
Because
got you.
Joel Embiid on one knee was already giving us hell. On one knee. And Nick Nurse is any coach that can dissect the game of basketball will give the Knicks problems because they're going to make adjustments. Nick Nurse almost beat us in the first round. Almost. Very close. Very close. I didn't want to see the Heat at all. I hate to admit that on this here podcast, but I don't want to see Eric Spoelstra in the playoffs. Do you want to see Eric Spoelstra in the play with a healthy Heat team? Do you ever want to see Eric Spoelstra in the playoffs? No. So therefore, Nick Nurse with a guy like Paul George. Last time he had someone like Paul George, he won a championship. Remember that. Last time he had someone like Paul George as his main win guy, NBA championship. Y'all know who I'm talking about too. The fun guy. When he had the fun guy. But this team is better than that team. This team is better than that Toronto team. Pascal and George, basically the same. Joel Embiid and Kawhi Leonard, in terms of scoring output, the same. I don't want to see the 76ers in the playoffs. I have no interest. We have nothing to prove. We have nothing to prove to Philly. I don't want to see them. I'm good. I'm perfectly all
I
right. Give us Doc Rivers, please.
I think uh I think you guys could use someone that's a little like stronger. Your centers are two kind of skinny guys. I think going against Embiid, you want someone that can kind of bang down here with him in the post a little more. But I will say, looking at that series last year, Mitch played Embiid pretty well before he got
Yeah,
hurt.
100%.
So I wouldn't
Yeah,
be 100% scared of Philly.
I
I
would.
mean,
Hey, I actually think Cat being in like Cat's I think this is gonna be a good move for Cat. Like and
Yeah,
hear me on this
absolutely.
because I'm staying with the topic. He's from New Jersey, grew up a Knicks fan, so he basically gets to go home and he's playing for Tibbs. I feel when you in New York, you kind of got no, especially when you're playing for the Knicks, you don't really have any other option but to kind of get some dog in you. Pause. Um, like he can get injected with that and run with it. Like we could see a different Karl Anthony Towns playing against Joel Embiid. You already know that they kind of have a little bit of a rivalry with each other, or
That's true.
as it is.
That's
What
true.
if what if the Knicks take Minnesota's kind of game plan last year against Jokic? You put Cat on Embiid and then have Mitch as the help man on the back protecting the rim, kind of like they did with Rudy Gobert.
We wouldn't make such an adjustment. Tom Thibodeau doesn't. That's not what he. That's not what he does. That's too basketball savvy of a move to do. I told several people in this group chat with the Knicks that you guys mentioned, um, we should have ran zone so many different times in the playoffs. We should have ran zone. Now we have OG and Mikal Bridges, right? We need to implement some type of zone because you know who ran zone against us? Nick Nurse. You know who ran zone when they were down like 3 starters? The Miami Heat. Why? Because zone is effective. Teams don't practice with zone because it's like a pride thing. Like, oh no, these are professionals. We're not going to play zone. We're going to play drop coverage and man up. Like that's what we're going to. I don't give a damn what pride got to do with this. We're trying to win a chip. Zone 2-3. Cat right there in the middle. OG, no, matter of fact, OG at the top with Brunson right here. Mikal on the in the corner of it. We got who's scoring against that? Not Philly. Philly not scoring against that. And now Cat don't have to hold and be for 40 minutes in a playoff game after playing 45 minutes all season long. We're not gonna do it though. It's too smart. It's too smart. Chip's not gonna do that.
It's not a bad. It's not a that's not a bad idea. I think, like you said, it's kind of like a pride thing in the NBA. I think also,
That's
I
it.
guess those guys can still be effective, but with OG and Bridges, you kind of want them. I guess you're kind of okay with them just guarding on the wing. I guess the problem with Philly
Yeah.
is in the post. I think who would the Knicks be scared of the most? I guess really
I
is
think it's got to be
Boston.
the Sixers
It's
because,
gotta be the
well,
Sixers.
yeah, but outside of Boston, cause like the other thing to me is they're built for Boston. Like that clearly, that's what Leon Rose had in mind when he put this new team together. Like he was not thinking about Philly. He was
Let me
not
stop you
thinking
there.
about
Let me
Milwaukee.
stop you there. That's not what he was thinking. He was thinking, let me get as many former people that I had as agents. Like when I was their agent,
That's
that's
also
that's
true. That
who's
is
on our
also
roster.
true.
That's our roster. But go ahead, continue.
I just think like he because the everything's comparable. He's got the
Yeah.
guard. He's got the two wing defenders to go against Boston's. And then you have like you said earlier, bringing in Cat is like when they brought in KP, except Cat is better. But could like this what I was talking to Kay before the show started about it. That's what could kind of worry me too, where it's like you're
Yeah.
built to play Boston. Because you're built to play Boston, does that shoot you in the foot before you even get the chance?
Mm, that's a good point. I've thought about it too, where it's like, all right, we have in fact matched up with Boston, but I don't think we were always going to go get Mikal Bridges, whether it be in free agency in another 2 years or somehow, some way, which what happened this past summer was the trade. We were always going to get Mikal. I think, and then the way OG, I think we went. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think 22-5 with OG in the lineup, best record in the NBA over that span of games, and so we already had those 4 guys. I think with finding out Mitch was gone until December and realizing that an extension with Randall, especially with the second apron, was going to be either really tough or we just weren't fully committed to Randall. Look how far we got without him. And that always breeds the question. And when he went out with the shoulder injury, when we were still winning without him, I had no doubt in my mind that we were going to trade Randall at some point this season. For the summertime and for Cat, no, I didn't think that. But I also saw the writing on the wall. And I think with the addition of Cat and hopefully, someone said Tibbs ain't Doc Rivers, but look at how Jericho Sims has done absolutely nothing over the last 4 seasons on our roster, starting games, and he's been the same exact player. He still doesn't have a go-to move in the post. He still doesn't know what he's doing sometimes in rotations. He's lost out there. That's coaching. If we can get something out of him, I'm more confident that we could play any team in the league. But really, the only team that would really scare me is somebody with a dominant big man And Jokic is dominant in terms of playmaking, so we don't have to worry about Cat with him so much. And we saw what he did with him. But Embiid is a different monster. And Embiid is going to try to be out to prove that not only is he the best player in the league, he's damn sure the best player at his position in the division. Like, this is his division. That's Embiid's mindset. We're going to win this division. I got Paul George and Maxey, and I'm just going to dominate everyone in front of me because the Knicks got some tall Latvian dude, 7'2". He can't guard me. Now they got Cat. He really can't guard me. I'm going to go at these guys. And that's the only team that I think we would really struggle with outside of, again, maybe the Lakers with Ant and Davis. But I don't know, man. I'm only afraid of the 76ers. I think we match up well with any other team in the league outside of someone who might take advantage of Brunson in pick and roll situations. But there's only a few people who could take advantage of that after a while. Maybe Tyrese Maxey, the John Morants, the Dame Lillards, but we're gonna be good. We're gonna be fine.
I think with so many defenders, you could hide Brunson on defense at a
Yeah,
certain point.
easily.
Yeah.
Easily. You can hide him the best in zone, but hey, what do I know?
No one's
What
scared
do
of the
I know?
Bucks.
No.
Come
Who's
on.
scared of the Bucks? With Doc Rivers? You saw they were no, God, no. No, Chris Middleton isn't right anymore. He messed up his knee for good, unfortunately. Something about Buck shooting guards and knees. Michael Redd, shout out to him. They the knee is an issue for Chris Middleton. That's their glue. Outside of Drew Holiday, they traded him, so all they got left is Chris Middleton and his knee not right. So I ain't worried about that. I ain't worried about them at